Mario Kart World changed the Grand Prix from a challenging, fun experience to a slog that I don't want to engage with. Now, you might be wondering why I feel this way, and honestly, it comes down to something like this, or even this, but you might not understand what I'm going for, so let me explain. Historically, Mario Kart's Grand Prix mode is a rather simple concept, right? You have 4 courses where you do 3 laps on each course where you and your friends are trying to get first place while you simultaneously are causing chaos with a series of items. So what changed in Mario Kart World? Well, in between each level of Mario Kart World, there is this, and this is the track map. This is what every race after the first in a Grand Prix looks like. Notice how long this stretch of road is. This is the actual course. Now, I have to put an asterisk on that because that is not the real course, but it is the course that you are going to be racing on, and that takes form in a couple of different ways. So this long stretch of road that we're seeing here is actually the track, but it is taking you from where you just finished to the next race. And then the final lap, or lap 3 or 4, whatever it's gonna be, is you actually racing on the new racetrack. But the problem is, the highway section is boring, ineffective, and way too long. Let's take a look at this example, right? We start the match, we see that we are on lap 1 out of 3, everything looks good, and then we take off down the highway. And I'm speeding this up because I can't be bothered to even watch this in post. But eventually we get to our next destination, and you can see as we're actually getting into the next course, we are on lap 3 out of 3, or sometimes if you're lucky, you might have 2 laps on the course that you actually wanted to play. So on any given map, you are spending 3.5 minutes driving on a straight patch of highway with not many items and just people basically getting motored from one place to another, and then 35 to 45 seconds in the actual map that you want to be playing on. This led me to the sensation of not knowing what any actual map is. I ended up coming away after playing every single Grand Prix thinking that the game was just kind of bad because I never found that any one map stood out. With the exception being Rainbow Road, that map is fantastic. But it wasn't until I went back and played online a little bit or played through the versus mode where you actually can say that you want to put 3 laps per race that you are actually able to experience the maps. And when you are doing it this way and playing Mario Kart as intended, in my opinion, then the maps are actually fun. Because a big part of the fun of Mario Kart for me is using stuff like banana peels to lay traps on the subsequent laps that are going to be coming up, not doing through everything once and then being done. And something else that's just weird about the highway is it's so wide. I understand that the game is supporting free roam in a different game mode, but inside of Grand Prix, you are literally just driving down this endless expanse of road, and it's so wide that you feel like you're driving very slow. I play Mario Kart with my wife, and she wanted to play the new courses with me, and she asked to raise the CC from 100 to 150, and in Mario Kart 8, going up to 150cc was a no-go. It was too fast and too overwhelming, but the fact that she insisted on day 1 of Mario Kart World to go up to 150cc told me a lot about the pace of the game. And what's funny is the highway sections in isolation aren't that bad. If you take yourself out of Grand Prix mode and go into the Knockout Tour mode, then all you're doing is driving on the highway. But for some reason, that is also fun. And for those of you that don't know, Knockout Tour is basically a battle royale where you have to keep above the cutoff point. And as long as you're racing and staying competitive, you will get to continue towards the finish line. But what's interesting is they actually seem to zoom in the camera a bit more so that you don't have that wide angle that I was just talking about. And they're constantly throwing items at you, and it's not Grand Prix. It's just not. There is a different set of expectations when I'm playing a different game mode on what I can experience, and I was able to enjoy the highway sections when I was not in Grand Prix. And I think what disappoints me the most is that this also pollutes online, which is where I prefer to spend my time. The only exception to that is online, you can always vote for a random race. And there are some times where you can vote for a race that is not connected. I will say it's rather intuitive to know what you're voting for. If you're voting for the highway section, that will turn into a 1-lap race on the course that you care about, or if you're going to get a proper 3-lap race. But if you're like me and like to rebel, always vote for random, because if you're getting a random track, it's always going to be a 3-lap race that you actually want to participate in. And aside from the Grand Prix and game modes, I will say that I'm also disappointed that we went back to the system where the player character has a lot more impact on what the kart's stats are going to be. I really liked Mario Kart 8's adventure where you chose a character and then built a kart to kind of fit them, and I could always just be a different skin on whatever kart that I liked. But in Mario Kart World, the characters dictate like all of the base level stats for all of the karts, and you can't even customize the karts outside of the many different options that they seem to be throwing at you, but I do miss the character customization and the control you could have actually on what you looked like in the races. So overall, it's a pretty rough start to me. I'm left unimpressed and a little disappointed in the two modes that I prefer to spend my time in. But honestly, there is room for me to just be crazy, so what do you think? Have you been playing Mario Kart? What do you think of these changes and anything else that you've noticed about the game? Let me know in the comment section down below.